This is the Fifth Estate winning headlines, your media police post. In this segment, we summarize some of the headlines that you might have missed this morning. But we also take a look at the political pieces that we call cartoons in this country. Today is the 5th of November 2019 and I am 2J.
I am 2M.
And I am GK. Do we have a today in history?
Yes, we do. 1974, President Jomo Kenyatta was elected for a third term as President and Commander-in-Chief.
Nice.
Just a little one.
A third term.
Third term.
Third term.
Yeah.
Great.
Wow. I just wonder how many parties they were then. All right. Okay.
Unapproved. Here are the headlines in case you missed them. In the Star, how Uhuru CSs are plotting to remove Maraga. The Standard, census shock for big tribes. And in the Daily Nation, numbers game, how census affects 2022. I suspect we begin with Maraga.
Maraga,
Okay.
yeah.
Yes.
So who are these CSs and
How are they plotting?
how are they plotting?
So Maraga says, and he said yesterday in his statement,
Yeah.
that there are CSs that have been trying to undermine him,
Yeah.
and they're trying to remove him. And they say, "Hii nchi iko na wenyewe." And I was like, I mean, I don't think CSs in this day and age are that powerful.
However, what he was claiming is that he'll try to go to State House and his juniors will be able to go in before he can, or that he's left outside and he's not receiving the respect that he thinks
His office deserves.
his office deserves.
Yeah.
Yes, I think generally what, and I've seen him when Uhuru was addressing a roadside rally in Kisii. Maraga was standing right there, just looking at Uhuru like this. I think Maraga just misses Uhuru. He just wants to be next to the president.
However, what I also think is very important for Maraga right now is, as the head of the judicial arm of this government, he cannot be sitting and making press conferences to cry in front of the country. He needs to flex his muscles.
Absolutely.
I mean, he has a very powerful position.
Absolutely.
So
I think he's asking too much to be let into the court of power. And I think him as a head of a government arm called the judiciary, I think he should behave in a little bit more, I don't know.
Not asking for Mercedes.
I think I saw it differently. I think he was like, guys, if I am this instrumental arm, you know, then I do deserve the respect and deserve the budget to go with fulfilling my mandate. So I'm all for him. I just think it was the manner in which he gave that speech that people picked up the wrong things. People picked up S500, flashy cars, I don't know why.
Absolutely.
You know, so we missed the actual
importance.
Absolutely. But do you guys remember when Raila was Prime Minister? He came and he said that the government was treating him in a bad way. They said this thing does not have a toilet, there are no carpets.
Yeah, but his nusu mkate was a whole different ballgame. He was dealing with a whole other beast called President Kibaki, you know. So that's for another day. But we do have a 3-part criteria that we use to break down the headlines. We ask ourselves, is it topical or speculative? Is it repetitive or groundbreaking? And is it thoughtful or just plain lazy?
Very topical, but however, as the lawyer here, I will say that this headline is just plain wrong. CSs in no way can remove a sitting CJ. So I think for like a lack of factual...
Let me tell you.
And also he hasn't done anything actually to warrant removal.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
we toss it for now.
Yes.
So we have 2 census headlines. In the Standard, we have the census shock for big tribes. And then in the Daily Nation, they're telling us how the census will affect the 2022 election.
Absolutely.
So maybe context for
the Standard. So the Standard is trying to suggest that the numbers that came out post-census are going to be a shock for the big tribes. And I think we're just talking about Gema here. However, I don't think any of that is actually true. Yes, we can say that growth did slow down with the bigger tribes.
It was 2.2% overall growth.
But I still think that they have managed to maintain their dominance.
Absolutely.
I don't think that warrants shock. I don't think we'll say whether that's good or bad either, but I don't think there's a shock there.
I think the tyranny still remains.
Most definitely.
Tyranny, I say tyranny.
Whichever you like.
The tyranny still remains. You see, I am different thinking. And,
all right.
I know Prof says let us all give birth, let us reproduce. But I'm saying if it's a shock that we have actually reduced as a population, rate has reduced, I think that's a good thing. You know, countries like Norway has how many people? 5 million people. But they're some of the world's powers, you know. I think sometimes you should also think about allocation of resources, because if you are fewer, then it means there's so much more for all of us.
And then in the Daily Nation, we have how the census would affect 2022. So here the article goes into who are the winners and losers between the counties. So I know that those getting extra constituencies due to the higher number of their population is Mombasa gets one more constituency, Kilifi gets 2, Kiambu gets 3, Machakos gets 1. There are also those whose fate are unknown. So they may stop being or cease being constituencies. So in the previous constitution, or in the 2010 constitution, the Legale Commission protected 26 constituencies, despite their population
not meeting the threshold.
Exactly. So after this census, we have Lamu East, West Mvita, Tetu, Othaya, Kangema,
they're under threat.
Voi, Bura, Madhyoya, Vihiga, Keyo North, amongst others. Now these guys have to make their case to the commission before 2021.
As to why they should remain. And I believe you were saying that there's some landmarks that if they exist within your constituency, then you can continue.
Then you get an exception. So you're able to remain as a constituency despite not having the population. So we know that the boundary delimitation must happen before the next election. And I think the timeline is August 2021. So how will this affect politics? Obviously, there's some game changers depending on whether we shift to a parliamentary system. If you have more constituencies, this means more seats for you.
Resource allocation.
Exactly. So I think definitely, I like how the Daily Nation couched it. It's food for thought, how politics.
Most definitely. I think that was the difference between the two. I think that this one was trying to stir up some emotions that I think were unfounded, but this one I think is telling us what's going to happen in the future.
And again, one more thing is, this is very curious that it is coming before the release of the BBI report.
It's true.
I have never seen a census procedure produced in less than 2 months. Normally they do it about 1 year. And I think this is actually Uhuru Kenyatta probably responding to Central Kenya MPs asking for proportional representation. Now, if we actually have more numbers in Kiambu than we've actually thought, or any other place, then Central Kenya probably has a reason to make their case on having more numbers in parliament.
So BBI very strategic, I guess, in waiting for census to come out first.
I suggest we toss a standard
and keep the Daily Nation. There you have it. We have a winning headline from the Daily Nation. So on to the political pieces that we call cartoons in this country, where we also have a 3-part criteria. We ask ourselves, is it humorous or dry? Is it satirical or pessimistic? And is it effective or just plain lazy?
Ozone. I missed his bad jokes.
Yes.
A little bit.
Caricature of Uhuru Kenyatta atop a tree with 3 branches.
Getting his hands dirty.
Getting his hands dirty. Do you ever think he would hold an axe?
I think it's a good look.
Yes, I think it's a very good look.
Roll up his sleeves.
But he still has his red tie. So he's cutting the judiciary branch of government, and he's almost falling. And the other branch is legislature, and he's sitting on the executive branch. And the caption there is, "Told you we shall revisit." And
it says branches of government. That was a bad joke that I was referring to, because we all know that those 3 arms are referred to as the branches of government.
Absolutely.
I thought it was funny. I think we mentioned this yesterday, He's revisiting the judicial coup he thought was against him in 2017 when they nullified the election. However, I also think judiciary has one up their sleeve. And like we said yesterday, they could easily act upon the legislature by dissolving.
Most definitely.
Because they have not enacted the 2/3 gender rule.
My question still, is this actually revisiting?
In some ways.
And is the revisiting on Maraga or is it on the judiciary? Who are we revisiting? Because I don't think you can revisit an entire arm of government.
I think when Uhuru was castigating them in 2017, the figurehead is Maraga, but he was going at the judiciary. I don't know, I think it is good. They have to know exactly where the hegemony is positioned. And largely, the head of government is the head of state. Now, if he's going to take some measures, he's just letting you know that who the boss is.
So much for separation of powers and democracy.
You need to read some Montesquieu.
No, it's all right.
All right, let's look at Gado.
This is Africa. So Gado is so boring today. But anyway, let me just describe
with enthusiasm.
Yes, caricature of himself, but for the first time I've never seen his teeth like this. Anyway, caricature of William Ruto and his puppeteering Mariga. Next to him is Raila Odinga puppeteering Imran Okoth, and they're in a stage. This is a play, and the play is Wanjiko and her people there, and,
in the KIBRA
social hall, just trying to show that KIBRA's by-election is a proxy war between and Raila.
I personally will say I'm tired of the puppet story. I think we all know what's happening.
Absolutely.
I think I was a bit late on this train.
I think it's a bit lazy.
Yeah.
This is very lazy.
Tough it. Yes, most definitely. All right, finally.
Finally.
This is funny.
caricature of Babaman, Raila Odinga, and he's sleeping, and his stomach has grown, and he's in red pajamas, and in my view, he's sleeping on the frame of the bed. The person who's actually carrying this frame on his back is William Ruto on a mattress,
crying as usual,
wearing yellow pajamas for ANC. For URP.
Yes.
And then next to him is Mr. Musalia Mudavadi,
cuddling his teddy bear.
And he himself is a what?
A cuddly bear. And he's drooling. He's so sound asleep.
Yes.
And I think Mudavadi gets it wrong every time.
Yeah.
Like,
Absolutely.
honestly, he's just... He believes that this is a place of collaboration and whatnot. But literally, politics
He's
is
even
not
facing
done
the
that
wrong
way.
direction.
Yes.
I mean,
and the caption where Raila is saying, my bedroom is
It's still secure.
When
My
he's
God.
asleep,
But you know what this cartoon makes me think? Ruto has more to lose. The more I'm watching how this is playing out.
You think so?
I feel like it's
and isn't that what Dula's saying? If that bed collapses on him,
Let me tell you.
That's why he's not even asleep at night. Everybody else is comfortable.
Resting.
Ruto looks like he has more to lose than all of us.
Someone who schemes at night wearing his pajamas. That is a very dangerous man. And let me tell you, if even William Ruto and Mariga get 30%, 40% of the vote, it will be a dent on Raila's constituency.
That is true. So if we had to decide between these two cartoons,
I'll go with
Ruto with the yellow pajamas.
Yeah, very funny cartoon by Ndula there. And so we have it, a winning cartoon from the Daily Nation. And what is our final thought?
And now our final thought. Today we will be looking at the men who built America, and we'll be focusing on one John D. Rockefeller.
Yeah, so specifically today, the book we're going to look at is called Titan. Did you not?
By Ron Chernow.
Yes, fantastic.
Exactly, Titan. So this book is the life of John D. Rockefeller, written by Ron Chernow.
Yes.
Chernow?
Yeah, I don't know.
He was Kalenjin.
No, but he does a lot of biographies.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Written in 1998.
Yeah.
So this book, Titan, is the life story of John D. Rockefeller, the man who became the first American billionaire and built the Standard Oil Trust. So this book uses a lot of records from the family trust, from the Rockefeller Foundation, the archives that they were able to build. And it weaves together how Rockefeller built his oil empire, but more importantly, the huge and massive fortunes that were made during this era that they call the robber barons. So this was a term that was applied in the 19th century to businessmen in America who were accused of using unethical methods to get rich and expand their wealth. And I think with Rockefeller, we'll see a lot of that unethical behavior. So his father, what we know of him is that he was a fake doctor and he used to sell potions. He was
actually a con man.
I think he was a con man.
He was a con man.
Let's call a spade a spade.
They call him Devil Bill.
Exactly, that's very true.
Devil Bill.
And he used to sell these fake potions to people, while his mother was very deeply religious. And I think that you see both of these influences kind of like impacting his later life. And so at 16 years old, he drops out of school to become a bookkeeper. And by 18 years old, he was so successful that banks were actually running to him to give him money. And so in 1859, his life would change forever when the first American oil well was found in Pennsylvania, I believe. However, at this time, oil is not very successful and it's not used in the way it is today because diesel cars don't exist yet. And so Rockefeller, being very smart and ingenuity, he has this ingenuity, he sees that there's a lot of risk in investing in the drilling of oil. So he says, you know what, let me let everybody else, you drill. What I'm going to do is I'm going to buy it from you and I'm going to refine it. And so he would go on to let everybody do that while he would buy and refine the oil. Within 2 years, the Rockefeller refineries were worth over $70,000, which today, or in 2017 at least, was equated to 1.8 million. That's in 2 years, and I think he's about 20-something at this point.
29.
Yeah, 29, So around 10 years after they were able to find oil, there were 26 competing refineries in the whole United States. 15 years after, so that's 5 years later, Rockefeller had acquired 22 of those 26. There were only 4 remaining. And this is how Standard Oil was born.
The company.
And over the years, he was very notorious for his very bad practices. He would manipulate prices, so he dropped the price of oil by 80% in order to squeeze out his competitors. Or he would, I think there's some train stories you're going to tell us about what he did. But I think just to give some very quick facts, at the peak, the Rockefeller refinery was refining over 90% of all the oil in the US.
That's crazy.
It's insane. By 1911, the government had to end up breaking the Standard Oil group because of what they call antitrust laws. And so at the peak, the estimates were that Standard Oil was worth $1 trillion. That's today.
Wow.
And they estimate that Rockefeller was the richest man, I still think is the richest man
ever in the United States,
who lived with a net worth of about 400 billion. And just for context, Jeff Bezos of Amazon only acquired 100 billion this year. So we're saying that in 1800 somebody had 400 billion worth of net worth.
Wow.
And so the Rockefeller the Standard Oil Company still exists today in companies that we know. BP, Exxon, Chevron Oil, Esso. So his legacy lives on today.
Wow, fantastic.
Do you know before they actually discovered oil in Pennsylvania, do you know what they used to use to light their houses?
What?
They used to use fat from whales. So they would get the fat and boil it, and it would do, you know. But what caught me most about this man is there were two people who used to have railways. There's a guy called Commodore Vanderbilt. And then there was a man called Tom Scott. Now, this man called Rockefeller used these two guys very well. Now, first guy, Vanderbilt, by the time he was coming to Rockefeller to ask that his oil be transported on Vanderbilt's railway, this guy, Rockefeller could only produce 60 barrels of oil per day. Now, this guy, I think, wanted double or 3 times that. Now, at some point, he was able to get to capacity. Then Tom Scott comes with another, a value proposition, and him now moves to Tom Scott. At some point, Tom Scott and Vanderbilt, who are actually competitors, come together and they say that Rockefeller should actually pay them some royalties for transporting oil on their railways.
So they saw how much money he was making and they wanted a piece.
Absolutely. Now, let me give you guys just a picture of what the railway was in the United States. There were over 310 railway companies in the United States. Literally anybody could make a railway if you had financing. All right. Now, this man said, now, because my transportation and supply has been cut out because they want me to pay them royalties, I will build something called a pipeline. Now, he said, if you could get oil using shorter pipes from the ground and transport it to the top, you can also take the same pipes and transport across America. That guy built a pipeline, I think probably about 4,000 meters long.
4,000 miles long.
4,000, no, not meters, 4,000 miles long. But there's something I also get from this. From yesterday's conversation, railways were so important to industrial revolutions, not just in Europe, but also in America. So the more that we continue to castigate government in this country for building a railway, just that is 700 kilometers, the more we realize that we're not that very clever. We're not clever.
And you know what? Yeah, they built it and industry came.
Absolutely.
Exactly. They opened up new frontiers for their countries.
Absolutely.
So Rockefeller's legacy lives on through what he calls, or what is called, the Rockefeller Foundation. And the Rockefeller Foundation has its regional office right here in Nairobi. In fact, in the same offices as Baba Man.
Oh, really?
Yes, in Nairobi. So in 2009, actually, the connection with Uhuru Kenyatta is that he was the finance minister at the time. And they signed an MOU with the Rockefeller Foundation to continue some of its good works. So let me give you some context. So the Bible says, to those who much is given, much will be required. And Don D. Rockefeller took that to heart. He was like, how can I, this is my calling. So he said, everybody has a talent. My talent is to acquire wealth and to make money.
Don't tell the Kikuyus that, please.
And a Baptist preacher once told him, make as much money as you can and then give away as much as you can. And this was his guiding sort of philosophy when it came to charity. Now, he's the one who actually they call the father of philanthropy. And he differentiated between charity in the way he approached it. So he said, instead of building wards for scarlet fever, how do we find a cure for scarlet fever? Instead of building wards and hospitals for yellow fever, how do I fund the scientists who are coming up with vaccines for yellow fever? So he's actually behind the eradication of yellow fever, scarlet, and a lot of these vaccines that we today use. He also was integral in agriculture. Now there's a foundation here called AGRA, who I think was headed by Jane Karuku up until recently when she moved. And basically they've revolutionized how agriculture is done on the continent. And here they were looking at how do we have better crop varieties and how do we have higher yield grains, how do we have reduced crops with vulnerabilities, how do we do all those things and improve fertilizers. So they've made agriculture accessible, cheap, on the continent.
Yeah.
And he was doing this from as far back as 1968 when they held a meeting called the Conquest of Hunger meeting.
Yes.
Right? Yeah. So for John D. Rockefeller, with his Baptist and religious upbringing, he really emphasized the advancement of knowledge and its application to improve the human condition. So when he gave out this money, so the Rockefeller Foundation has a $6 billion fund in perpetuity. It means it will never run out. So there's a team of people somewhere in New York sort of investing this money and keeping it going. And for him, it was really important to continually improve the human condition. If you read his story, he was hugely mean with himself, mean with his kids, but extremely generous to everybody else. The other thing people don't know is that he was behind the atomic bomb. So the Rockefeller Foundation between 1938 and 1939 made an $80,000 grant to the University of California. And they were coming up with something called a cyclotron or whatever it was. And they basically made a larger one. And then they realized that this could be used for military
purposes.
Purposes. And so he was the man behind it. It's possibly without their funding, we probably would not have an atomic bomb.
And that was one of the things that like lit up for me. You cannot fight indigenous capital.
You know, you have to protect.
We need our James Mwangis, our Chris Karubis. Those are the people who will end up funding some of the things that the government can't.
Exactly.
So KRA, leave them alone.
And let's give credit to where it's due. Today, Uhuru Kenyatta, and he told the chairman of KRA and the commissioner general to stand. He said you cannot continue having an aggressive attitude towards business. If someone has not paid their taxes, you just sit down in a room. You can sort it out. You don't have to be, because the more people, business people, see you behaving like that to indigenous businesses, as you say,
the more they won't come.
They will not pay their taxes.
Exactly.
That's so true.
So on a day where we had a double win for the Daily Nation, with Numbers Game, How Census Affects 2022, and a cartoon from Dula, I want to leave you with this. John D. Rockefeller once said two things that stood out. Do not be afraid and give up the good to go for the great. So give up the good and go for the greatness. And the second thing he said is, I don't think there's any other quality so essential to success of any kind as a quality of perseverance. Right? It overcomes almost everything, even nature. So persevere in your pursuit for greatness. And also be generous along the way. You do not know whose lives you could change.
That's so true.
So kindly subscribe to our YouTube channel and find us on TV. We're on GoTV, Pang Free to Air, and Star Times. Have a good evening.